So welcome back to another episode of The Grow Show with Dr. Glen and Keshelle.
Welcome to The Grow Show with Keshelle and myself, Dr. Glen Davis.
Awesome. So this episode is a little bit different from our typical episodes or the previous episodes that you've watched. And if you've never watched, you're watching this one, if you've not watched previous episodes, please go back and watch those episodes. And so today we are talking to lovebirds. And we had some questions that were submitted from previous episodes. And we thought it would be fun and different to ask a question or answer the questions that were submitted in a live popcorn style format. So we have some questions here that were all submitted. And Dr. Glen is going to answer all the questions.
Not.
And so we're going to pick a card, answer the questions, and really just share how we recommend or how we do it in our relationship. Of course, we're not experts, and we also believe that you still have to find what works for you.
Sure.
The mindset is these are areas that are challenging for people in love, and how can we grow beyond the challenge? How do we become bigger than the challenge? And this is really what we are here to do today. What you want to say about that?
Yeah, my caveat is that there is no one way of doing things. What worked for me, what worked for Keshelle may not work for you. And so you would have to determine what works for you along with your partner through communication, through conversation, and through discourse. And so
All
let's begin.
You go first.
Keshelle, you look nervous. You don't know what this question is going to be. So the fishbowl is here.
I've not looked at the questions in advance.
And
I have no idea what's coming at me right now.
I am going to pick a question. I'm going to read it, and she will answer. All right?
No, I ask you first.
All right. You want to ask first? Okay.
You have to start. Okay, you all ready for this? Whew. Okay, so my spouse has a gambling problem.
Oh, gee, they coming out rough out the gate.
It's affecting our finances. What do I do?
Wow. All
Dr.
right.
Glen.
Ooh. All right.
All right, Dr. Glen.
So, gambling problem. What do you do? Again, that's a cause for discussion, for deeper conversation. Maybe putting some limitation in place as to how much is spent on gambling. Because if the person may do it as a pastime, you may not want to take it all together from them, but you may have a conversation to say, you know what, we will only put $50 of our income to that gaming portion of your lifestyle. Because that could be tantamount to that man or that woman as a person going to the store to get their to the salon to get their nails done or get their hair
that's
done.
how you compare
And
it,
that could be their vice. And so I would say put a limitation on the amount that you spend towards gambling. And if you're not able to put that restriction in place, then you may need to seek counseling as to how the behavior can discontinue. Because after a while, it could cost the relationship.
Yeah, and I like how you made that connection with it could be a vice. Like everyone has. We all have vices, right? We all have things that we spend on, or we perhaps may spend too much money on. Or we splurge on. What's yours? Anyway.
You live with me. What's my vice? What do I spend on?
I don't know. I have to think about that. You don't...
The fact that you have to think about it, I don't have a vice that I spend on.
I know what it is.
What it is.
Snacks.
Yeah, but that's not detrimental to cause our relationship to be... And you buy it for me, not me.
Yeah. You don't. Or I need to dive deeper and see if I can find it. But I think the issue is, or the message is when you say problem, is it affecting the finances in a way where bills are not being paid, responsibilities are not being
That's
met?
what I'm presuming, if it's that detrimental for them to put it in.
And so it's really, again, I like that, putting a budget together, having a conversation, coming to an agreement, and also finding out maybe what is that real motivation behind it. Is it to make more money, which is typically what gambling, or is it, like you say, there's a vice where, it's just a way for you to let down your hair.
And if it's an addiction that is spiraling out of control, it needs to stop. And so you actually need to get professional help. Yeah? All right. So
Now
move
you have
on
me
to the
thinking
next.
about what's your vice?
Move on to the
What's
next
my
question.
vice?
What's your vice? You want me to say that on national
Yeah.
TV? Huh?
We could cut it if I don't like it.
No, you asked it. Okay. You know what? And that's one of the things that from I met you, you never have books. You will spend money
Okay,
on
that's
books.
a good problem.
Yeah, you will spend money on books.
And courses
Yeah,
are.
and courses. Like you will go in a course after a course after a course after a course to the point that sometimes I would ask, are you getting any incremental benefit from this next course? At one point in time, it was a problem. Yeah, and we spoke
Yeah,
about it.
I remember, he would ask, like, where's the money going? And I'm like, it's going on courses and programs. And he didn't get it. And I remember sitting down and I literally opened my laptop and I'm like, let me just show you.
And I was like, oh my God, did you need 200 courses?
No, not in.
No, it was over a period of time.
Over a period of time.
But it still started to present a problem because it affected our finances. And so you had to have that conversation.
And so it's really determining again what, if that is affecting it. But how I looked at it was, that's what I do. I teach. I spread knowledge.
No, you are being excessive.
So taking in knowledge and studying is a critical part of me giving out knowledge.
You are being excessive.
So
we can stick up in there.
So
that was excessive. The fact that we had to have a conversation about it, if it wasn't so excessive, then because you have always traveled, take courses or whatever it is, and it was never a problem. It was excessive at the particular time, and it was affecting our finances.
Yeah, and I agree.
And we talked about it and worked through it. So
yes, so I guess
so let's move on to the next
one.
one.
You're trying to stall,
No, you're trying to stall. No, we didn't spend 2 hours on my one question. All right, so you picked?
No. Oh.
So you're gonna read for me, right?
Oh no,
I'm gonna pick and read
go.
for you. All right. Big money, big money, big money, big money. Who should pay the bills? The husband and this person have a smiley face, of course.
Oh, we're not answering questions individually, eh? We actually...
That question was asked to you. Who should pay the bills?
I believe it depends on the relationship. I don't think there is, going back to the previous shows, there is no stereotypical role for who pays the bills in the marriage. I believe that should be agreed upon, right? So some relationships believe, or some lovebirds believe, that it's only men. Going back to the previous episodes, only men should be paying the bills while women do nothing. I don't agree with that. I believe you decide in your marriage how the bills will be managed. So I don't have that's all I can say about that. In our relationship.
Go ahead. tell about it. Tell truth, speak truth. My pastor would say, speak truth to power. Tell the people what goes on in your relationship.
Can I pull it back?
No. Tell the people what goes on in your relationship.
In our relationship, you pay all of the bills. But that was, and I'm grateful for it. And that was something that just worked out that way. It wasn't where the full expectations were set for you to do it. I never expected you or even put pressure on you. That's just how it ended up. I make sure you eat. That's my sole responsibility to feed this man. And
she makes sure I eat. All right, so in all fairness, even though I am the breadwinner per se and pay, I would say 95% of the bill, because you still do some contribution. If I'm in a job and I need you, you're there. And that's what's important to me. So if I say, you know what, this month, some unexpected bills come up, or I'm in over my head, I need an assistance from you, you would have done it, and it works for us that way. Somebody else may not be in a position to pay all of the bills, and if that doesn't work for your relationship, then you need to figure out what's the best way to move that forward. And if it's the flip side, and we would have talked about this before, what if it's you in a position to pay all the bills and I'm not able to pay all and help? How would that work out? I just help if you need a little help.
We talked about, I think it goes back to the way we decide to structure the relationship. We've said in previous episodes as well, the mission is for me to make this $1 million and you to become a husband,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Stop working.
we've talked about
The minute
that.
you make that first
and stop
million-
working is relative because
Yeah.
you're gonna be working for me.
No, I'm working alongside you. Let's get it in context. I'll be working along. No, I don't mind working.
No,
for
but
you.
I mean, yeah, we're just playing.
If you
But
could hire me, it means that
listen.
you're making enough for me to make at least $70,000 to $90,000 or $100,000 a year.
yeah, that's
And
the
so
goal.
that's a good thing.
And so if that is how the dynamic ends up, it makes sense for me to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I don't, it goes back to whether, and we've had this conversation, whether you would feel a certain type of way.
I
And
feel
don't
no
think-
way tired, no way discouraged. If you're making the money and can pay the bills, I am ready to retire.
Yeah.
So help me
And I don't
God.
have a problem paying them if the money is there. I honestly don't. I believe, again, if I can have more support, if the business is to that point, or when the business is to that point for it to absorb
Sustain
your
your family,
salary,
yeah.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
Can't wait.
All right, so let's not spend too much time on that one because we talked about that in previous shows.
Okay.
Boy, that's plenty of questions. We're not going to be able to get through all of these. Hard question, tough question, tough question.
No, my
You have to
turn. My
read
turn.
that.
Oh man, this question I would
All right,
change
pick
it.
the next one. Oh wow, we starting to fix and rig the game.
Oh Jesus, let's see.
Oh my God, we rigging. No, we're not doing that. We're
Okay.
answering because people, some
Okay,
persons
this
out
one is
there
good. This one
put
is good.
these things forward so we can address them.
This
we can't
one
do
is
that,
good.
babes. That's rigging the game.
Who comes first, me or your family? Sometimes I feel it's the family.
All right. So, well, that was a question sent in from somebody. When it comes to your family, the Bible say, honor thy father and thy mother, right? But it also say, leave them and cleave unto your wife. So with God outside the picture, because he is first and overall, your spouse or your significant other should come first. Yeah? Then your children, then your family. And you notice I put the children after. It's a tendency of our Bahamian women to put these babies' kids over your significant other. And at the end of the day, these kids grow up and they go on and they get their own man and woman, and then your relationship destroyed. No, you have to be in a good space as husband and wife, as a couple, to be able to provide a good space for your children. So if you and I are not in a good space, and I'm going to share, I know Keshelle is very private and she don't like her business over the place, but as a result of the when we first met, the relationship was rocky. And she sent me this voice note.
And just for context, who's the chef?
Keshelle, your daughter, my stepdaughter, my bonus daughter. And she sent this voice note that brought me to tears on Friday. She said, I watched the way how you treated my mommy and you love and care for my mommy. I watched the way how you treated me and love and care for me. I watched the way how you treated Jaden and Jamie, which are your niece and nephew. And even though we started out rocky, I've come to love and respect you. And any decision that I'm making, your input matter. And that brought me to tears. All right. So the moral of the story is, if you would put your daughter over me, we would probably not been together. All right. We work together to build a strong foundation and then to be able to set an example so she can see at the end of the day, this is what love looks like, or committed relationship look like, marriage should look like. And so that changed her perception of me. And now we're in such a good place.
Yeah, there's a quote that I heard, and I think we talked about it before, and that was, children are a part of your family, not a part of your marriage.
Yes.
And I love that so much, because while we love our children,
Yes.
what comes first is the bond
Yes.
between the husband and the wife, between the partners. And it's sometimes difficult to make that distinction or make that separation. But when you do realize and remember that children will grow up, they observe what the marriage looks like, and then they grow up to become their own man or woman and find their own spouse. You realize, and if that marriage is not intact
If it's toxic,
or toxic, then you take that, then that child takes it into their other marriage. I remember when she grew up, and she made it very, very, very clear that she had her man, and she found her person, and she was, she was just, it was evident that she had grown up and she had left the home, and she was making her own decisions as relates to the relationship. If I had put her solely in front of Glenn, like you say, it would not have lasted, or the relationship would have been rocky.
And then, so to answer that person's question, it's your spouse together, building that strong foundation, then your children, because they are your responsibility, and then your family. All right? And you never want to put your family aside, because, in fact, it would be good if your family could live in harmony, but if it's not happening, you don't want to choose one over the other. You have to have priorities. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So let's move on. Yeah, we can do about another two.
Another two. So who's... I lose track of this game.
You lose track, so I just answered, so you're going to answer now, right?
All right, you pick.
I'm picking for you.
Right now, that's the same one I put back.
Let's talk about dealing with children, stepchildren, all that. So we'll put that back because that's similar to the one that we had. We have different visions on how to handle money. What advice can you all give? Different vision on how to handle money. One person can handle money well, and the next person have some issues with dealing with money.
This is something that I think Glen and I have worked through. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've mastered. When it comes to different visions, I think that's where it begins. It's one, even before you get to vision, is what do you value? Do you agree on the values of your life, of your marriage, of your relationship? And then those values obviously lead to the visions. And so it's really getting clear on, do you value the same thing? Mm-hmm. If so, then even though you may see things differently and have different visions, is that what you see actually still taking you to a place where you both can agree on, right? So is there a value match? And that's the first thing. And then I believe it's, again, recognizing that what is the purpose of the finances that you have different visions on? Like, I think what made it unique for us is, one, we appreciated that we also had individual projects.
Yeah. Before you get deep into that, hold that thought. Let's make it very clear to our viewing audience. All right? Mm-hmm. One person is a spender and the next person is a saver.
Well, that's a different question.
No, it's the same question.
It's a different question.
In finances, one person is more conservative or thinking about the goals or whatever the finance, and the next person just spending as if they're on a shopping spree. I think that's what that question was in line.
Okay, that's a different question.
Not being on the same plane with finances, and so
yeah, because different vision, meaning we see things differently, or we working on two different things. When we think of spender saver, that's different personalities, different styles, which is we could see the same thing. Like me and you have the same vision, we have different styles of spending or managing money, and I think that's a different question. So if you go with that question, I love that question. It goes back to, is the vision the same?
Yeah. Did we agree on it?
Did we agree on the same vision?
Or it's just one person's vision?
Right? And so if the vision is the same and there's different spending styles, which spending style, how will we work each other's style? Because I don't believe spending styles, there's no wrong or right spending style. I don't think there's something wrong with being a spender. I don't think there's something wrong with being too much of a saver. It's how it's managed. And who is better at managing the money so that we can achieve the vision. And, we've had that instance in our relationship where I love to spend. Mm-hmm. Like I like to spend. And we talked about it in previous relationship, previous episode about what I like to spend on. But I recognize that when we had certain projects to work on, or a big vision,
agree on the goal
and we agreed on the goal, I yielded to you because you were more of a saver and a manager. And so for me, all you needed to do is tell me
give you X amount of dollars.
how much we work
and
with,
then
and I give it to you.
And then I give you an update as to what is going on. Because accountability is also key. Because you didn't just put that money in my hand and say, well, go do our vision. I now have to come back and say, here's what was done. Here's what stage we're at. So we can build that trust and that bond. So it takes
so the vision is the same and the spending styles are different. And I don't believe you will ever find someone or relationship where there's the same spending style. It just don't work that way.
And it has its pros and cons too, because if you're always a spender, you could be spending away the money that we need for our vision. And if I'm always a saver and holding on to it, I could be holding on to the money and not realizing the vision because nothing is going out for us to grow and improve. So it comes back again to having that conversation, that dynamics, and working towards that vision.
And you have to, we're talking about the Grow Show. You have to be constantly willing to work at it. It may not improve overnight our financial situation or the way that we work it with our finances.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way.
And we still ain't there.
And we're still not there.
We're still working through some of the kinks.
It's the mindset around growth. We were committed to growing in the area that we slowly but surely began to work out.
And because it was such a point of contention and we were not always on the same page, that was something that we had to work on in order for us to grow and move forward in the area of finances.
And I think that's a good place to end, because with anything that you're not, even these questions, with any area that you're struggling with, or that you're not on the same page with, or you have disagreements with, how are you working through them? If you're constantly arguing, if you're constantly at conflict, what is the resource that you are going to use to grow and to get over and overcome? If you look back over a year and you've not seen growth, and sometimes growth could be very small, it doesn't have to be big, but you've seen progress, give yourself credit. If you're not doing anything to grow and progress in those areas, then that is where we want you to pay attention.
Yes. So we'll end right there on that note. That's a good place to end. If you are constantly dealing with the same issue, arguing over the same point of contention, week in, week out, month in, month out, a year has passed, 2 years has passed. In our situation with the finances, it has been several years, and you see no progress, no growth. Really, that's a spot, that's a weak area that you really need to take some time and sit down and put some thought, some effort, get some help in that arena, because that could be the thing that pulls you apart. And the aim of being in the relationship is to grow.
It's to grow.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll end on that note.
You like give me high five.
We still have some more questions that if you request it, we will answer the rest. But for now, we have to stick a pin because of the interest of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning into the Grow Show, where we talk it out and grow.